to introduce myself. I'm Anthony. When I was looking for some stories, sort of sensible stories that might have been a bit funny and not too rude, to tell about Tom. One of the things that most people tell me about Tom, obviously, since he's moved to North America, obviously to Notre Dame and on to Montreal, is how, in terms of alcohol, in terms of sleep, in terms of women, that's the main three common denominators. That's all the stories going about. So, in terms of sleep, this all kicked off when he was only a little child. His family was saying to me that he had trouble sleeping. So the reason why I find this funny, because it sort of develops on further on. But when he was a cute little lad, he troubled sleeping, and he sort of he had a little friend called Happy Bear. Now, I don't know if this was sort of a trademark bear, or I tried to Google it, couldn't find any videos on YouTube or any merchandise whatsoever. But Happy Bear, basically, anytime Tom had a problem sleeping from the age of 1, Hoppo, so I thought it was Happy Bear. Happy Bear, Hoppo, it went through a name change, trademarking. But so Tom, typically sleeping, he used to go to his little friend Boppo, or Happy Bear. Partly he moved on as he got older to Popeye. He had a big fascination with Popeye. But the main thing, he used to go back to the bear. And apparently, I don't know if it's true, but it's still under the bed somewhere, with obviously in a very bad condition. He's not going to sell it on eBay, but it's somewhere. It might be under the bed. I don't know if Trisha knows anything about it. Do you? No? I don't know. But anyway, the reason it's quite funny is when I first met Tom, we were at 16, but he was in the same school as me for the first 3 years. I sort of knew him he was in a different class, so I only knew him by his sort of nickname. And I don't think anyone's aware, but his nickname in school was Teddy Ruxpin. Now, Teddy Ruxpin, obviously it wasn't really a show that I watched when I was a kid. I asked why, I didn't see why did they call him Teddy Ruxpin, but he said he looked like a human teddy bear. So when he was a child, he did look quite cute and adorable. And it was only when he, later on, when he reached the age limit of 18, is when it started to go all wrong, or right, all right in his in his mind. But so he moved on. So he quite sort of tame until he was 18, and then he between 18, when he went to university, is when it all kicked off, and when Tom's sort of sarcastic wit, I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, sort of became sort of legendary. And fueled with alcohol, he used to go sort of mad nights out. But the problem was, going back to Tom's teddy bear looks, he had problems getting into nightclubs. So the only one nightclub he could get into Dublin was called Copperface Jack's. They let anyone in, really, no ID, not necessary. They sort of judge you by how you looked, rather than sort of checked your passport or driver license. So Tom, so he used to go to this place called Copperface Jack's. Now, anyone from Ireland would sort of know it has a sort of infamous reputation called Slapperface Jacks. Now, I'm not sure whether slapper sort of is used in America as the same sort of phrase or terminology, but slapper is sort of considered sort of easy. So it's that sort of meat market type place. Now, Tom, to be honest with you, Tom's main thing for going to Copperface Jack's was the beer and the dancing. And at the time, he had a fascination. He loved this Irish band called Westlife. Now, Westlife, they're sort of like a sort of more upmarket type version of the Backstreet Boys. So that's where Tom spent when the Westlife came on. It was, that was his night. So nothing really rude or nothing really controversial really happened in Copperface Jack's. But regarding the sleep, we're getting back to the sleep again. And he, at the time when he was in university, he used to work on the weekend on a morning shift in an upmarket coffee shop called Bewley's. And one morning they had a big launch of a takeaway facility. Before, it was just like a regular sort of restaurant. You'd go in and sit down and have a coffee. So they were launching this big coffee takeaway sort of thing. It was a big deal. It was their flagship store. and Tom was opening it. But of course, Tom decided to so I think it was Copperface Jacks again. He decided to. It wasn't. No, where was it? Well, anyway, similar nightclub establishment in Dublin. He went to the night before. So he arrived. He arrived into the store at 6 a.m. thinking of alcohol with 1 hour's sleep. So, no, the Tom did take it fairly seriously, Bewley's, and after they left, they went downhill and they ended up closing their takeaway outlet. So it was all, Tom. But we're moving on. Tom moved over to South Bend. I'd hear all these stories of alcohol and how all the Americans loved Irish men, and that. Once he said he was Irish, he's from Ireland, he was Mr. Popular. Now, I've heard a couple of stories from his friends in Notre Dame. They're quite a bit more funny, a bit more humorous. One of them was where, let's see, I'm not looking at my notes, I'm sort of winging it here, but he basically, Tom, as I said, he'd say he was Irish and all the girls loved him, apart from the undergraduates. Now, the undergraduates, they're obviously a bit younger and they wouldn't appreciate an Irishman really, they're a bit more sort of suspicious of this guy from Ireland coming all the way over. So one morning, Tom received an email from someone saying they were, obviously it looked real to him, they said they were the head of the department, and apparently some girl had said that Tom had been sexually harassing her. Now, obviously, this was quite serious, and they said that he had to really come to the office straight away before to take it any further to discuss the matter. So, obviously, Tom, I don't think Tom's certainly not the type of person that would harass anyone. But Irish sort of humour and Irish sort of friendliness might seem harassing to certainly sort of some Americans, but so we went to he went down to see the head of the department quite fast, and but the actual perpetrator of this email, because obviously it's a fake email, Tom would never harass anyone, failed to get to Tom in time, and Tom ended up going into see his head of the department, and he said, "Oh, I'm here to see you about this email." And the head of the department said, "What do you mean, an email?" And he goes, "Oh, you had the email about the sexual harassment." So obviously this sounds pretty daunting and stuff. And the head of the department said to Tom, "You look at the calendar and what date it is." So Tom looked at the calendar and realised it was April the 1st. So obviously Tom cursing, he knew someone was involved, he cursing his way, typical Irish lad. And then as he was going back, leaving the room, the head of the department obviously laughing his head off in hysterics. So that's Tom sort of in one example. But another example of Tom with sleep and alcohol was in his first quite early on in his Notre Dame career, he had to present a 2-hour, I think it was a 2-hour presentation on some sort of cellular biology or something like that, and he decided to stay up for a couple of hours to get it all ready. He did it the last night, which is isn't the best preparation. But Tom being Tom, he's pretty apt at what he does, so plenty of time. But unfortunately, not on this occasion. So he ended up, he ended up staying till 5 in the morning and rushing to give his presentation in the morning. Not the best preparation. But at the presentation, lo and behold, reportedly, he actually fell asleep. I kid you not. He fell asleep in front of all the students and whatnot. And apparently, when he was waking back up, standing, he realised to his horror that he hadn't got the slides in the right sequence. So instead of going from one disaster in terms of nodding off, just total disaster. Now, obviously, he's recovered in time, so he's ended up in Montreal, so not a total disaster. But so again, sleep, drink, sort of Tom, and that's the Tom we love, So before I leave you go, Tom, one of the things Tom asked me yesterday, I got married about 2 years ago, and he said, does marriage change you? And I was saying, well, not really, you know, it doesn't change. But then I was thinking today that it sort of, it makes your relationship stronger. So, like if you you know, it's meant to be, then your relationship's going to be stronger. And obviously, I believe, and I'm sure everyone here believes that Trish and Tom are meant to be together. So, in terms of what's going to change, their relationship's going to get stronger. And we'll be here anniversaries and all sorts of stuff going on. So they'll be together for a long time, forever, you know. So so we'd like to toast Tom and Trisha. Raise your glass and don't. By the way, don't call Tom Teddy Ruxpin because he told me not to say it, but I had to. So it's Tom and Trisha.